Welcome to the Element Podcast. My name is Askia, and on today's episode, we have a good friend of mine, Tiffany Hammonds. Tiffany is a painter out of the PNW up in Tacoma, Washington. And so when I knew she was coming into town, I had to get her on the podcast. And so on this episode, we go through Tiffany's faith journey and what that's looked like. We talk about some of the creative projects and some of the intention behind the work that she does. And we even get into some of the harder times in life, some of the grief that Tiffany has experienced and some of the ways that she was able to actually overcome a lot of those things. And so this is such a good one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Tiffany in her element. Get there. Cool. Ready to get into it?
Sure.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Element Podcast. My name is Askia, and today I'm here joined with a really good childhood friend of mine. I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm Tiffany.
With two N's.
Yeah, twins.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
You know, my mom didn't name me, so she had to have some part.
I'm crying.
That's where the extra N comes in. So
yeah, I love it. Just a little extra,
little extra sprinkle.
I think that's good.
My librarian in like second grade definitely told me I was spelling my name wrong.
No way.
Yeah, because like word correct kept on putting like the red dot and like my whole paper was checked.
Right.
She's like, you spelled your name wrong. I was like,
that's terrible.
I did it.
That's terrible.
I know my name.
Right. Exactly. And I think that after meeting your mom last time, I was out there. I mean, I've met her before, but seeing her last time, like I think she is that little extra.
Oh yeah,
sprinkle.
no, for
I
sure.
think that's her magic for sure.
Yeah.
Tell me about what it was like growing up, especially with her as your mom.
Look, we didn't have 6 days because she would pray in tongues. Look, you weren't gonna catch a sick day. Like easy. I prayed for your healing, and I know you're healed.
So you're going to school.
But I very much would be. I don't know if it was like a placebo effect, but I definitely believe like the spirit of healing and like the power of healing.
Of course.
And I know that she like warred over me in prayer a lot. Like she still wars in prayer over me, which I'm really grateful for. But I definitely think that's what carried me, especially through like, I just know that how much she covers me. Like it sometimes comes from like, it feels like an overprotective kind of nature. But I think it's just because like spiritually she understands how things operate. And so she's always trying to like cover me. But I mean like growing up was pretty chill. She definitely gave me a lot of freedom when it came to like learn what I believe in and to understand God. I was never forced in anything.
That's good.
So I really appreciated that because God found me and I fell in love with God. And then she just fostered. Yeah. I mean,
talk about that.
Yeah. I was actually, I think I was like 4 or 5. Yeah. Because I think we left around when I was 5 or 6. And when I was 4, I was singing Jesus Loves Little Children. Yes, Jesus loves me. And I kept on singing it and I was in the mirror. So like the kitchen was like right here. And there's this huge mirror that my dad had, like gold trim. And I think my mom was like making like tacos or like some type of like lasagna or something. It's weird how I remember the scene so well. And yeah, so she's right there. There's like a little bar and I'm like behind the bar, like right by the mirror in the hallway. And I'm just singing yes, because I like was in choir. Children's choir. So I would just keep all the songs. I'd come home. I'd be silent through the entire choir practice. And I'd get home and I'd be like mad loud.
Belching.
Oh, yeah. So, but I was singing Yes, Jesus Loves Me over and over and over. And I started crying. And my mom, like, at first, like, thought I hurt myself. But I just kept on singing it over and over and over. And pretty much like a little tizzy, I was just really, like, in it. And she came and my mom was I don't want to tell too much of a testimony, but she was a Buddhist for 24 years and atheist for I think about like 6. And so she had me at 40. So she was very new into Christianity and believing God when I was born. So we kind of started that journey together, I feel like. And so she was kind of like caught off guard by like my tears, and she didn't really know how to go about it, but she just started praying. And so we went to the couch and I cried like an upside down heart into a pillow. And she was like the person to document everything. But we just prayed the Lord's Prayer at that point. Yeah. And she asked, I think, if I wanted to be saved at that point. And I said, yeah. And so that was kind of like how we went about it. But It was like in all my drawings.
That's a trip and a half. And all this is happening in Tacoma?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to take the people there in the beginning, where you're from, and sort of your background a little bit?
From the Bay Area though. From the Bay.
Yep. Bay.
But I claim the PNW. I was born in Oakland, California, raised in Tacoma, Washington. Been there ever since. 818 South Grant. It's now a gentrified house, but things happen. But yeah, I mean, like, that's been my stomping grounds. Like, Hilltop is such a colorful, vibrant community that often is like overlooked. Because it's kind of something that you have to be in it to really experience it. Like, you can't just like really like run through Tacoma and like understand like the type of people that are there, depth. Like the minds and like the brilliance that really comes out of Tacoma. So really grateful to be there.
That's awesome. What do you do? What's your
I'm an
your
artist. Yeah, I like to paint. No, but I've been painting for a minute.
And what was the start? Like, how did you get into painting?
I just copied my brother. I copied everything my brother did when growing up. I tried to skateboard, couldn't do it.
Same. That's why I don't rollerblade. Like, I need to be in control of my body.
I feel like rollerblading is like you have more control though.
But it's still not full control of your body.
Okay, we're going rollerblading. It's not happening. Okay, we're gonna get you out there. Yeah. You might be like a really dope ice skater or something. You never know, or like a unicyclist, or I don't know. It might just be like, the opposite. Hard. Yeah.
Have you seen those one wheels that people use like skateboard things? Those things always look cool. I'm crying. But so you got it from your bro.
Yeah. And so my brother got into graffiti when he was in his teens. My brother's like 6 years older than me. And I just tried to copy him. I tried to copy his styles, his hand styles. Yeah. And he was really good. Like really good at graffiti. And so I would just go to school and I would like do people's binders and stuff like that. Like I would like do their names. Yeah. Yep. And I was a really weird kid, so it kind of really helped me because I was like the weird kid that's like, like here's the emos and then like here's the kids that are like gonna beat you up, and so it's like right in between where both of them like me, but like no one was my friend.
Okay.
It's like because you weren't able to fit she's in? Cool. Yeah.
Like, she's
we know Tiffany. Yeah, she's a little off, but yeah, she's cool. I would copy like a lot of his stuff. I mean, I've always liked creativity. I always like scribbling. I always like colors and arts and crafts. That was definitely like my happy place. But I definitely wanted to be like my brother, and so when I started doing graffiti, I recognized that I had my own way to go about it. And so I liked kind of like looking up like, like other graffiti artists and just going about that. And so I would put it on my dad's refrigerator. And this dude named Chris, who's now my mentor in most ways, and also Kenji, he was doing a mural in my dad's house downstairs. And so I came down and we had like the creaky stairs. So I was like literally spying on him. I was like, do you want a sandwich? Like, do you want some water?
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm good. And I was just like so fascinated by like all the colors and just like how abstract it was. And I've never seen letters like distorted that way. And I couldn't read it, but I liked that.
Right.
And so I put my best drawings on the refrigerator that day. And I went back in my room and he was coming out to go home, and my dad was talking to him about some whatever, and he's like, oh, who did this refrigerator art? And like I just like casually came out the hallway like I was just like, oh, like, and then he's asking about your art, and then he asked me to do a mural.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I did my first mural when I was 12 in Tacoma.
Oh,
like very first mural on 56th and Tyler, and
that's crazy.
That set off a lot of things, and then I became a part of Fab Five, and
right.
I just started taking Chris's little mural jobs. So like he would get like, 5, 10K, 20K, but he would give me like the 2K.
Right.
And like, like the smaller jobs.
Right.
And it like really built my resume.
That's awesome. That goes hard. It seems like it's a sanctuary for you.
Oh, 100%.
The art and creativity is.
Until it's not.
Right. Until it just like burns out. It's like, hey, I need to take a look. But that's interesting how that even parallels with churches in general. And right, like you have this not routine, but like you regularly go to a church. It's a sanctuary. It's a place of peace until it's not, and then you need to step away. And it's like, okay, I need my reprieve. There's so many parallels. There's relationships like that, like people, family, stuff like that. So I feel that
too much of a good thing almost.
Yeah, exactly. And you get burnt out.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how has, your identity in Christ influenced your artwork and your creativity and your process?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
When I started doing more murals and like doing my own projects instead of group projects, I would constantly try to put like scriptures, or like, not like the scripture would be like Matthew, but like part of it,
right.
Like, if I be lifted, I'll draw, like I would just do like small parts like that.
Right.
And I would incorporate it. And like, they were like, oh, like, is this religious like text? Like, you can't put that on a public wall. We can't let the city hire someone who's going to put scripture on it. But the rest of it is good. And I would get so frustrated because it was like, that's not the complete art piece,
right.
Like, why do I have to change that? Like, it felt like erasure in a lot of ways, but I understood what they were coming from, I guess, technically. But like, my job wasn't to push my religion on anybody else, but it was my artistic expression.
Right.
And so I did a lot of portrait work and like typography. And eventually I got more into like what I do now, which is like the Face of Nations, because people kept on telling me like, you can't put scriptures, you can't put this. And I always loved color therapy. And so I just started using it as a form of worship.
Yeah.
I wanted like my art always to be a form of worship, because I think I didn't understand what ministry was at a young age. And ministry felt like you had to be like doing something that was in the church.
Yeah.
When that's not how he describes it. Which is like one of like my favorite verses recently is just like, like whatever you do, like do it unto God and do it well. Like, don't do it for men's approval, but like do it for God's approval, like your heart, the position of your heart. And so
God's your employer.
I think like right now, like when I do art, my biggest thing is like not to be praised because of it, like, but to give God praise because I'm doing it, know, and like to give him the glory, and like for someone to heal. Like, I feel like if someone is able to paint and like get some type of breakthrough or insight or learn something new, like that's giving God glory. Yeah. And so I think in everything that I do, I try to be intentional so that that's, coming through. But
yeah, describe that battle of like getting in the way sometimes. Like, how do you humble yourself and remove yourself to just be the vessel and not the thing that like people are adoring?
It's like, it's actually a big telltale when I'm like painting and things don't flow. So when I'm like in the best place and I'm worshiping and like, and I don't even have to really listen to worship music, contrary to popular belief. But sometimes I'll just be blasting like sounds or instrumentals and stuff like that. And I know, because God will like give me a vision of what the piece looks like before it. Right. One time I did a sketch and I like completely forgot I even did that sketch, and the piece still came out exactly like that sketch that I sketched from my dream. Yeah. And so a lot of them either will come in dreams, and like I normally don't force anything. I can't like be like, oh, I see this plant, I'm gonna make a piece called The Shiny Plant. Like, like it's like very much like God will be like, oh, like, he'll give me a theme or something to go, and I'll just go from that. And I don't know. It's definitely about the flow. Like when I start like having to think about what color I'm going to mix or think about what color is going to go where, and I have like this pause or like error, I walk away or I sit down and I stare at it till I'm ready to go home. Because if it's not like picking up, like I literally like, and I love it. Sometimes I'm like, it's like an out of body experience where I'm like watching myself and it's just like, like almost like mechanical. I'm just like, oh, paint here, do. And it's just so like, it flows so well. So
automatically. Yeah.
And then I make sure when people like seeing the work, I don't want to be like the person like, oh, y'all, glory to God. But, I'm definitely like, I like people to reflect on how it makes them feel more than like, oh, you made me feel this way. Like, oh, I'm glad these colors, or I'm glad the yellow like did this, like I'm glad God gave me that idea to like, do that. And so I try to do it like subtly, but like also just like making sure that people are recognizing that, because a lot of folks who have my art are not like Christian or believers, but it still impacts them, and that's how it should be.
Right. And so, you intentionally put that in like your commissions and stuff to be able to like walk them through that experience. I'm
like, look, I believe in God over hers, but you don't got to, you don't have to. But right. As for me and my heart,
like, we gonna worship the Lord. We gonna worship the Lord. I love that. Tell me, walk me through kind of the Christian journey. Like how has it been? What are some like highlights, some like lowlights, and just like how has that played out for you?
Okay. Well, if I get I know I get tangent because I just be talking. So
tangents are great.
If you need to
we love tangents.
redirect me, redirect me
for sure.
Because there's so many ways to go about attacking that question.
It's huge. It's huge. Because I mean, you start off as a little kid, right? Has there ever been doubt? How have you?
For sure.
Right, and then how have you dealt with doubt? And then what have been some important mechanisms or systems for you when tackling things like doubt?
I think God was in a box for a very long time. Mm-hmm. It was something that I looked at and appreciated, but didn't really interact with. But would interact with me. Right. It was kind of just imagine something in a box, and it's you trap something, and it's it's
I'm here.
It's it's hey, hello, and giving signs. It's etching things on the wall,
on the box.
I can help you, and I'm just don't want to open that box yet, but I know you're there, and I see you, I acknowledge you, I believe in you, but I just don't really want to interact yet. And I think that came more in my teens. I went through a lot of depression, as trigger warning, and a lot of ideations and attempts, and self-harm, and just different types of, the relationship that I had with my parents, was great, but at the same time they had a lot of their own unhealed trauma that definitely impacted me, without going into detail.
Of course.
And I think in the midst of my depression, which was the heaviest between I'd say 12 and 19, I was doing a lot of stuff that I thought was asking for help, and I felt like I was being ignored. And so it did kind of weaken my faith and my ability to trust in those who were Christians around me.
Right.
Because they would call out people to the altar and be I see this in you and I'm gonna pray for it. And to go through that for 7 years and nobody knowing until I said something myself made me feel so unseen. And I know it wasn't their job to do it, but I think because I didn't know how to ask for help and trying to do the much that I could, I was just God, why aren't you putting it on this person's heart to pray for me?
Right.
Because I was just I don't know how to ask for them to pray.
Right.
I don't
and that's
know
a hard
how to
thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know how to tell someone that I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
Right. Can't you help me? Don't you want me to stay living? Right. And so.
And it's if you are real.
Yeah.
Right. Put it on their heart to
but I also had wisdom. I had discernment, so I knew better. And so it was a frustrating bite. And my mom, at a young age, she's when you become aware of something, you're responsible for that. She's just when you have knowledge, she's Tiffany, there's gonna be a lot of people around you are ignorant to things, and you're gonna feel it's not fair that you have to follow these rules that you become aware of.
Right.
And I felt that way because I'm just I know I'm not supposed to do this. I know the word says this. I know God doesn't have this for me, but all my friends are doing it. Right. All my friends are dealing with their depression this way. All my friends are dealing with, their anxiety this way. Why can't I? And so I would dabble and I'd feel so convicted, but I also felt God's love. And so I felt he kind of just allowed me to kind of figure things out on my own with lots of grace.
Yeah. Was it an obvious, we're going to get through this? Or was it more hey, just take this step?
It was more, I had an attempt one time. Can I talk about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So so pretty much I had pills, I had the alcohol, the whole thing. I was in the bathroom and I passed out right before. And I woke up and I didn't take anything. And I felt definitely the presence of God in that moment. And I was so glad that I didn't do what I did. And so I felt God was definitely in that space with me, and preventing me from doing anything obviously too stupid. And I think after that I was probably more shooken up to the point where I wanted to be more intentional. And I started believing that the only thing that the enemy has against me is myself. And so I think it was more of shift of mind, because my mind has always been my biggest issue and my bully.
Beating yourself up.
I literally can have the happiest, most amazing life, but my mind will have this lens that like I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like the worst situation. Yeah, like, I'm not deserving of it, or like it's not, it is what it is, or everyone around you hates you, or people are just tolerating you. And like I could not escape that part of my mind because it just felt so true. Because I agreed with it. I didn't like myself for a very long time, so it was easy to believe that people wouldn't like me too.
Are you still there?
I would say that tries to come up occasionally, but for the most part, I've gotten out of that lens. Yeah. Kind of like, you know, like my contacts, right? I leave them in for a month or two.
For a month.
Sometimes you need to clean them out. You know, you need to see things in a different way because, like, when you put in the new ones, you don't recognize how blurry you were looking. You know, how blurry it was. That's a word. How unclear it was. You know, like, you gotta, like, they might work, they may be functional, but it doesn't mean that it's clear. Right. It doesn't mean it's the truth. Right. There might be a little speck in there that's a lie. Right. And that's blurring your vision from understanding what the real picture is. And so.
Yeah. Or if you do the work, right, and you change out the lens, then there's better for you.
Yeah. Upkeeping what you have before it destroys, you know, the thing that it's supposed to help.
Right. Exactly. And it allows it to flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that like a lot of therapy? Was it a lot of talking to friends? Like, how do you, when you're looking back at like these low points, right? Like, what was the thing? Just leaning on God and just prayer, and like, what are the things that, because I mean, you have to dig. Yeah. That's digging. Yeah. That's like a very tall hole that you're in. Right. So what's the ladder to get out?
Honestly, I felt like I started to get out. I knew it was definitely like a diet thing. The people who I had around me, the work after the altar call, because I used to get so mad that I left altar calls to filling. And like, I think people don't know about tarrying anymore. Like tarrying at the altar. It's like when you just stay there. It's like wrestling in the spirit, like wrestling with God, just like staying there and not leaving. Like not just having someone like, you know, you're blessed and then just dipping, but like really just working it out. Like a hard conversation with like, you know, like it's almost that closure conversation that people beg that they need, but like in this case you do need it. You need it, yeah, exactly. Right. Because you want that closure with God. Right. And so there's been a lot of moments where I just like had to just stay there at the altar, and like even though my mind was racing, like I had to be obedient to that. I would say, yeah, it was honestly just like the people, the diet. Pivoting. I finally got in the car and I'd be driving, and it would be like, you know, driving in the middle of that train track while you know, it's like, and I'd be like, no, I'd be like, I rebuked that, like, you know, but I finally got to that point where it was like, I was just like, nah, like, and I'd be in the car and I know I look crazy, but I'd be like, nope, not today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got bold finally. You have to, yeah. I think like, obviously, I think I was growing when I didn't even recognize it. So I finally arrived to a point when I was like so much more healed and so much better. Yeah. But because I didn't recognize that, like every time I was going through and learning something, that it was adding on that strength and adding on that way to understand and navigate. And so eventually, like, I just had enough armor. Right. Where I was like just fighting the war, you know, and beforehand it was just kind of like, oh, you missed that area. Okay, well, let me get, look, right. it's like skating, you know, it's like I fall down on my knees. I'm going to learn to get knee pads, you know, and then I only have knee pads, but then I hit my head. So I'm like, okay, I need to get a helmet. All right. Like I hit my elbow, should have had elbow pads, need to protect my wrist now. Right. And so it's like every time I'm like, I'm not stopping my life. I'm not stop skating. I'm still going to go. I'm still going to do what I need to do. But every time I'm like adding something that's going to protect me and not like hold me back, but like allow me to go further. Yeah. And so I think I finally got to that point where I was like, okay, I can go further now. I conquered this.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. How has going through what you've gone through helped you interact with other people? Like, have you taken on mentees and been an influence in people's lives? Yeah. Does it increase like understanding?
I would say actually I've been more of, I couldn't call myself a mentor. That just sounds so weird. Like, I was a mentor to
It is weird. Which sucks. I hate that that's such a weird thing to say, because it's so necessary. Yeah. Like if I didn't have the mentors in my life, like, you know, it'd be like, I'd be wayward a bit, you know? Yeah, mentors are important though. So own that.
I think it's because like the people who call themselves mentors sometimes are really just not mentors. I don't want to be one of them.
That's fair.
But no,
but
I would
positive
say
influence.
I've been able to be a positive influence. I think in more people's life who have lost people because I've dealt with a lot of grief, which is actually was frustrating because as I was getting to that point of getting out of my depression, I like went into just like 3 straight years of like losing some of the closest people in grief.
Yeah.
But as I lost people and as I like stayed faithful, whatever, you know, people think that looks like, I have my own opinion on what that looks like, but staying faithful in those moments and like really clinging to God, a lot of people are like, yo, I don't know how you got through that, but I just lost this person and now I feel like I can get through it. And even more recently, just having like the capacity to talk about things and not like cry and it's like not crying is a bad thing, but I'm saying like I'm able to look at it like fully and completely and process through it without being like super triggered by the things that I experienced. So I would say
more control. Yeah.
And so like instead of like every time I talk to someone, I mean like sometimes I feel led to share my testimony
for sure
because I want to like make space for people to also share with me like hey, here's this thing that like you may not know about me, but now you have that space to like also feel like you can share the things just in case you haven't talked to anybody in the last few weeks and you feel like no one cares about what you're going through. Here's this random fact. So share me a random fact about you. And then like people open up. So I'd say now I stop like I have a therapist. So I stopped sharing unnecessary things with people when I'm looking for an out. Which
because
I would
you have this person you can just
I have a person that actually is like intently like listening to what I have to say and like help me work through it. And I used to have like just this issue of like telling everybody my business. I blame it on my Gemini rising. But my like Scorpio was just like, yo, shut up.
Stop talking.
Stop. Why are you telling your business? And my Gemini's like, yeah, like actually.
Just they need to hear it.
Like they don't need to hear it.
Yo, that's comedy.
Sorry they didn't.
Right.
But yeah, so I would just like, I'd be constantly looking for someone to give me an answer.
Yeah.
And so I'd overshare a lot and overthink. And I think finally I'm able to like show up for people again. And I've really been trying to build that capacity to the point where I kind of almost beat myself up for that. Like I was like, I'm not the same Tiffany. Of course you're not, you know?
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I think I'm able to definitely like see a lot of the things that I saw in myself now in people. And I'm able to definitely make more space.
That's huge because it seems like now, like especially with social media, like everybody needs to be perfect all the time, and it just seems like there's this pressure, right? It's almost a cliche topic now.
I'd be ghosting social media.
Yeah. The relationship be like on pause. We need a break sometimes.
Yeah,
like hey, I need a break from you.
100%.
But it's because it's healthy. It's healthy to step away. But yeah, it just seems like everybody like there aren't oftentimes intentional spaces for people to go to. But it seems like now people can find that within you. Yeah. And just you can be this almost this fountain.
Lighthouse.
For people. A lighthouse. Exactly.
I like lighthouse. Yeah. Someone referred to me as lighthouse before and I was like, I like that.
Yeah. What was the idea behind that?
It was just like actually a moment of prayer with some homegirls, and this girl came to me and she's just like, I don't know, I just feel like God's telling me that like because of your testimony you're gonna be a lighthouse. So I don't know. Sometimes it's those moments where like people are just like filling extra space and you're like, yeah, you're actually a motorboat in the spirit. Yeah. Like, and I'm like, what? But I think it resonated because I have an aunt who also really loves lighthouses. So I was just kind of like, it kind of gave me a good feeling. And then I like looked up what like lighthouses actually do. And it's just like, it reminded me of the verse where it says like, God is our strong tower. And so I'm like, anything that people say about me that like aligns or resonates with like what God is, and like he also tells us to be a light. So like what is a lighthouse? A strong tower with a light attached to it. And so like as much as, and like it says the righteous run in and they are safe, like to the strong, it's like, so it's just like kind of like that, like if I be lifted up I'll draw also, like all those verses kind of like just like intermingle for me, because it's like I want to be that place where like when the waves are getting too like crazy for people, like I want them to see my light and then like feel like they can like come in to where I'm at. So
that's beautiful. What are you working on these days? What you got going on?
Myself.
What projects? Ain't that the truth?
I'm working on myself.
Every single day, like facts.
Yeah.
Before anything
Bag
else.
lady.
I'm crying. Shout out Badu. Shout out Badu.
Got luggages. I got luggages.
We checking bags over here. We checking bags.
They're like, look,
I'm crying. $50 each.
$50 each. Kind of travel with
straight
it.
To the therapist.
Whatever.
Yeah,
But
straight to the therapist. I love it.
I've been working on a lot. I actually haven't painted in a few months, which has been wild.
Is it bizarre?
Yeah. I have projects coming up, so I think I've been doing like little doodles lately. Okay. And it's a combination. My mom loves them, which I always find surprised because I know she doesn't like things that look too weird. And I feel like some of my drawings look really weird sometimes. But she's like, it reminds me of like the drawings you did when you were like 16. And now it's like the art that you have now. And it's like the perfect world between the two. But like I started them actually while I was caregiving for my Nana when she came back from the hospital. Yeah. And as I'm like making sure she's breathing in her sleep, like I was just like, like I was sitting across from her. So I just like, I was doing something so I would stay awake and like, also just to keep my mind somewhat at ease during the moment. And I think it was like almost a week that she was with us before she went back to the hospital. And I was sketching and sketching and sketching. I'd like work on it all day, wake up at maybe like 4 a.m. and continue sketching. And it was just giving me such peace. And I recognized that I did that last time after my dad passed, like 150 days. I did 150 portraits. Oh, wow. Of like women's faces. Oh. And it was like that art show was like called Figments of Features. Right. Yeah. I remember that. And it was like literally just dedicated to the foundation. Like women opened it up and all that stuff like that. So right now I'm trying to get back into that. I've definitely been trying to enjoy art right now. Yeah. Because I think I got into like it's my job, but it's also my hobby. So it's a weird space because it's like people will abuse it. They will. And like people don't understand like, I'm grateful that you want me to paint a black woman on your wall in front of your desk in your house, mural, but I don't want to do it right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, you want me to paint a stool in your attic, like it's something random. But I don't want to. It's like, I don't want to right now. And it's like, I think people think when they know it's your job or your income, they're like, you must take this opportunity in order to survive. Like, how dare you say no? Exactly. And it's like, no, like, I don't. I'd rather eat rice and beans than do that. I'll go broke, honey, before I, you know what I'm saying? But
and that's identity. It's just like, it's just the stroke. Yeah, it's what I want.
You don't want my art when I'm not in the place to create. Let me just say that. Yeah. All those people who waited multiple months for our work. Sorry. Be glad that I have a therapist now because your artwork might get done so much quicker. Just because my mental illness got in the way of my spirituality so often. It would block me from like being able to like be still and like if you don't have peace, then like, good luck. You're not, like how can you find peace when you're like in the way of like doing the thing that helps you find peace? Right. You don't want to seek God because you're having anxiety, you know? So
for sake of our relationship, right? So I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, you don't want me to paint for you? Especially if I'm saying Face of Nations is like a vision, an understanding of how we are extensions of God's glory. Right. Like, why would I do that when, not that God can't use me as a vessel, but because it's a practice and I want to be intentional about it. I want to be not in the perfect mindset, but in the, like, have the right heart. Right. And sometimes I don't have the right heart. I don't.
It just it's true.
Yeah, I'm just it's like, true. I don't want to paint
and
that.
You got to know how to operate in that. Yeah, you got to know yourself, right? Like, you got to know yourself and how to operate in that. Because if you don't know how to, you're going to be taking on gigs. And then that could lead to a spiral. Like, if you're not, if you're not always pursuing God, right? In every space that
life's trash.
It's like, it's
garbage.
It's rough.
Throw it away.
Talk about Face of Nations. So, like, you kind of blew up a little bit. Face of Nations kind of blew up. relatively quickly.
Yeah, my imposter syndrome doesn't say so. But
I'm crying.
Yeah, no.
But it did. It totally did.
It did.
And it bubbled.
Little.
So talk about like what that's been like.
It's oozing.
Yeah. It's oozing. You nasty.
So it's like, look, I need to take a drink of this one.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, I was at Fab, which is my job before the pandemic.
Which
still
is
a nonprofit organization for young people to be leaders, creative leaders. And I've been a part of it. I was a student and I was an instructor. Now I'm the spice manager. Spice manager. I'll be managing the spice.
That's amazing.
But
is it really the title?
I mean, like technically, but since there's no space, I operate with.
Oh, space.
Yeah.
Oh, they said spice.
Spice. I just know.
Yeah.
No, I am the
accent.
Okay.
Spice. I've just noticed, we totally go in and out of the accents all the time.
I do. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I do the same thing, as you can tell.
No, I don't have.
But okay, spice manager. Love that. I love that. Was it in the? It was in that grocery store.
No, the grocery store is actually a part of the Design the Hill project.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you were asking about.
Yeah, I was asking about Face of Nations.
Yeah.
So like, what impact has that had in your life? What like how have you grown as a person because I mean it's relatively new. It's like a year and a half, 2 years.
It's new to folks,
people,
very old to me.
Yeah, of course.
It happened directly after my dad passed. I stopped wanting to do portrait work, stopped cooking, stopped doing everything. Everything that was enjoyable, I didn't want to do anymore. I didn't want to paint. But it was like deeper. Like it was like seeing people painting just made me sad. Like I literally hated it for a bit. And I think, but like I worked in an art studio. So like it was just like the anxiety that I went through, like on my lunch breaks, I wasn't even eating, like honestly, it was just either self-medicating or just trying to like deal with my anxiety. And I chopped way too early. Like if you lose someone, please take a few weeks before you go back to work. I don't know how they set that up, but there should be time because don't be like me. Because
it's called bereavement.
Yeah, but like I literally took like a few days and like the next week I just like went back to work and just, and that was like 2 losses back to back. So I was I lost my mind. But I was like, yeah, I'm good. So anyways, Face of Nations.
But in that Face of Nations was kind of creative.
I started doing sketches again, and I was just sketching in my book, doing like little faces that I used to do, sketches that I used to do. And I've drawn the table a lot because we had this big table that we could draw on. Yeah. And so one day I was like looking at this wooden board and I was just like, there wasn't really anybody there. So I just felt the freedom to kind of go for it. Got a thing of black paint and I did the sketch that I was doing on the thing on the board. And I was like, why not just make a big version of this? Right. And I was like, I like it. And I had fun with it.
And then where'd the name come from?
So actually, I posted it and people were like, oh, this looks like a village. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, I think a few days later, someone was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, what would you call this? And I was like, I don't know, like Face of Nations or something like that. And I was like, that's actually a crappy. I literally followed up. Really? I was talking to her. I was like, that's actually a crappy name. I was like, don't write that down. And I was like, I don't know what I'm calling these yet. Yeah. And so,
I'm crying.
So then
it ends up
right. So I kept on doing them. I did a few pieces that I just kind of kept to myself, just kind of like figuring it out. And then this like the storefront during the pandemic, where there was like a lot of closed up buildings. One got broken into, so they had to put more boards. One thing led to a next. I ended up doing like half of like the strip downtown of like the boarded, because business owners just kept on coming out while I was painting, and they're like, will you paint my I was like, sure. And it was funny because I came out of not painting at all to just like painting like
all the time.
And I was doing mostly Face of Nation work, and like then I think Grit City, which is like one of our local magazines, was like, hey, like we wanted to like hit you up at the art show that we saw in November. but like we didn't know how to incorporate the faces in the title, but we could incorporate these.
Right.
And so if you mind, if we did like a little like, blurb about this. And it was in reaction to George Floyd. So I was doing a piece and it was like, I protect the robbery of my peace. I protect the robbery of my hope, my joy, and my voice. And I did faces that aligned with that.
Oh, that's dope.
And so that was like the main project. And so they, did that, whatever. And then from then on, I was in the Home Depot parking lot. And I was like, God, like, I don't want Face of Nations just to be like a little thing. Like, I want you to use it. Like, what is the reason behind it? And I kid you not, clear as day. When God talks to me, it's never like a sound like, Tiffany, all right, turn to page 3. But like, I know scripture. I can quote like, Matthew 6:33 and like Philippians 4:13, but I do not know most of the Psalms because there's so many Psalms.
So many.
Besides like Psalms 23, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like a given.
Green
but
pasture,
yeah, if you don't know that one, like.
Exactly.
But I like, if like someone's like, what's Psalms 82? I would be like,
no idea.
I don't know, So he said Psalms 82 is clear as day in my head. And I was in my friend's car, and I like looked it up on my little Bible app, and it said, actually, it's the Psalms of Asaph. It's 8, which is also my favorite number. I have to pull it up really quick because I'm going to quote it wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
But clear as day.
Yeah, clear as day. So Psalms 82. Never heard it in my life. So this is the Psalm of Asaph, and it says, God stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods. How long will you judge unjustly and partially to the wicked? Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Free them from the hand of the wicked. They do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. All foundation of the earth is unstable. I say, you are gods, you are children of the Most High, but you will die like men and fall like the princes. Arise, O God, and judge the earth, for all nations belong to you.
Oh, that's crazy.
Do you understand? Do you understand? But do you understand like the type of like freak out I had? Right. So I was in the car and I was like, "Yo!" And my friend
was like, "What?"
She's like, "You good?" I was like, "Yo, no way."
Yeah.
I was like,
"You won't believe this."
I was like, I put my phone down. I was like, "Yo." I was like, I was like getting hot. I was like, "Yo."
Yeah, he was like, "Yo, they on my neck, God."
I'm like, God is speaking to me right now.
Yeah.
But for just like for the aligning of that,
and
like the message that it had, and knowing my heart, like just to be an advocate for young people.
Right.
So when it says like the orphans, like to protect the orphans, and like the time that we're in for George Floyd, and for it's like we wander around in darkness, and like I say you are gods, like God was pretty much judging the presidents, like the kings, the rulers, the princes, all that. So it's like our presidents, our mayors, our officials, leaders, our deputy you know what I'm saying? All those people, he was like correcting them, and he's like, how long are you going to favor the wicked? How long are you going to be wrong by people? I tell you that you are God, so like I gave you provision.
Right.
I put you in these positions to uphold my laws, and you guys are doing wrong by people. So he's like, you'll die like every other man. You don't have to be a prince. You'll die like a man. You will not die like a prince, is what he was saying. He was condemning them because of how badly they were treating folks. And so his response to that, it says interlude, and so he's like, defend these people. Defend the folks that you're doing wrongly by. Because the people that you're doing right by are wicked people.
That's wild.
And so that set the whole entire precedence for Face of Nations.
So how now then do you operate? Like what are some like things that you've done with Face of Nations that kind of in line with that?
That's a really good question. I would say, honestly, it's just opened up a lot of places to speak about God in the places that I need to, while also like benefiting certain communities. So like I work a lot with young people, so I've done like a lot of like murals with young people.
I love that.
In Tacoma, based around Face of Nations, and like we did actually gave them the other part of downtown. I have like, it's called I Will Not Be Silent. And so we did a project, the I Will Not Be Silent project. And so like I just invited some of the youth from my church, from another person's youth group, and like allowed them to have the space to curate their voice and their response, because I feel like a lot of times we think like, oh yeah, the kids are going through it with us, but like imagine being a young person and finding out like folks that look like you are dying just, at the drop of the hat just because
Mm-hmm.
they look like you.
Mm.
And we don't recognize like how that's impacting them people, and we take away their voice because we're like, oh, this is our issue. We know what it's like. We know this trauma, and like we're not giving them the space to talk or give solutions. A lot of times like the Bible often tells us to like look to youth because they literally have the answers, because they have this pure
souls.
And and so like we should be looking to them in these moments. We should be looking them to guide us, because we just have like trauma on trauma on trauma. We have anger, we have frustrations, we understand oppression, we understand the systems. But I think like it'd be so smart to really ask someone who doesn't understand the systems, just to see the matter as clear as possible and to give their pure solution. So that was one project that I did. Obviously it's been a pandemic, so I haven't been able to do as many projects, but there's also
especially in Seattle. No shady. Washington crazy. They're Tacoma, excuse me. But y'all are crazy.
But and so then the other one is the housing project. So the affordable housing, we have through Design the Hill, I've been working with Chris Jordan. So we have 8 affordable housing units going up in Hilltop, which is right now a like highly gentrified place. And not only will they be able to prioritize Black and brown folks that have been displaced, but like folks who are like homeless and like need housing immediately will be able to move in within the next 2 to 3 years. I know that's a long time, but like to do work like this is also super groundbreaking. And I wish we could find out more ways to go about, like, it's something that I'm still trying to like figure out on how to help in the transition period, because like we have really cold winters, and like folks, are out here lighting sanitizer to stay warm, and it's just out of pocket. But it's like sometimes I'm like, if I had the house, I would do it. But like, where can I? What can I do? Like we have warming centers, but it's not enough. But so we have 8 affordable housing units. Underneath will also be Black and brown businesses. And like, it's not, a lot of people kind of like lost hope in these type of projects because we've been used as a token and like a face for other developer companies who like come in the community and they're like, hey, help us. And so our community kind of lost trust, but we did this from like us, by us. And we have like just funders at this point. We don't have developers we're working with. We have funders.
That's nice.
And so
you control it.
And then we're also working with THA, which is the Tacoma Housing Authority, and a few other housing projects actually decided to become a part of the project and give their buildings to us and like allow our artists to put murals on them.
You love it.
Yeah.
So you light it up. You lit up.
I'm using Face of Nations right now, and so like as that project and like being a contractor with them, there's definitely more that I want to do, and I think that's when you're asking me like what I'm working on right now. I'm working on myself, so I can do that list of things that I can like fulfill more of Psalms 82. There's so many ideas that I have, and so I think right now like the most that I can do is like work with the children, work with the housing, and really heal me first, so that I'm able to do more, because I can't pour from a broken vessel.
You can't. That's a big thing. Talk about that more. Like when you're most filled, right? Like you can really work. Like talk about that distinction between being a broken vessel and not, and like how you've been able to impact the people around you.
I wouldn't say I'm broken, but I would say like sometimes I got like a little cracks.
A little damage over here.
A little damage. Oh, it came up.
I told you I was gonna do it.
It came up. It's been saying damage all week, yo. But
I told you I was gonna sneak in somehow. I told you.
Annoying. No, but I would say when I'm at my full is like, it was pre deaths, when I was like just able to show up, volunteer, get involved, like teach, and do like 4 different jobs at once, and like not be exhausted, but feel like empowered. And I think right now I'm like, I do one thing and I'm just like, I'm wiped out. And so I wouldn't say like I'm broken or anything. I think it's just I have a different vessel and I don't really know how to fill it yet.
That's huge.
Like I don't know where to open the cap. Like I'm just like, I got it.
Yeah, here it is.
I got a new one.
I need gas and I need like.
I just don't know. Like
it's
like when I get rental cars and I have like my old little hoopty that you just press the button and the gas thing. Now they have these fancy cars and you're supposed to like figure out And then like you don't even need to do it. You just press the thing, and I'm like, that's
exactly.
not safe. Like that's not safe.
Exactly.
You need to press the button inside the car and then unscrew it. Like, what are y'all doing?
Suspect.
How is that an improvement?
Right. Making it easier for robbers. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Hey, I get it though. I get it because then you'll need to buy a new car.
Yeah.
That's it. Cracked it. You're gonna have to buy a new car because someone messed your car up.
Exactly.
So it's just, I get it. It's smart.
See, anybody can get into your gas tank. You can't get into my gas tank if you wanted to. You could not get that thing open with the screwdriver if you tried. Could not pry it. Look, hoopty on level 12 right now.
Yeah. So you need revival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting there. Just like even starting therapy.
Yeah.
Has like been really helpful. Jesus in therapy.
Yeah.
Shout out to the hills. Yeah, I've definitely been on the Jesus in therapy vibe. Definitely been doing devotions again.
Yeah.
Definitely been surrounding myself around people instead of isolating. And also just giving myself a lot more grace.
So is it like I want to get back to how I was?
No,
or is it
I lost. I think that's why I wasn't getting there.
Right.
Because where I was doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
It's never going to exist. Because that would mean that nothing had to happen between then and now.
Right.
And obviously it had. So how can I be there?
It's not authentic if you even like imitated it.
No,
it's not
the same. So I have to reinvent where I am now and not fear that and really give it to God and just like be okay. Like, you know, you don't like blueberries anymore. You like blackberries. Like it really be like that. No, my taste buds changing everything. Like
that's crazy.
The things that I used to crave, I don't crave anymore. Like I don't remember a lot. And I used to remember like the smallest details.
Yeah.
So when I'm like spotting or like I see things and they remind me of something that I completely forgot, like I don't feel like myself.
That's
so
a trip.
I'm definitely like just trying to heal. I've been taking my supplements.
Good.
Been taking the things that are going to help my body just kind of get back to
eating better.
Yeah.
Good.
Get on them
gains.
Them gains.
You're starting 75 hard?
Huh?
So you're starting 75 hard?
Yeah. I'm starting 75 hard.
Gonna get it.
Yeah, hopefully I don't have to start it over. Jesus, take the wheel. I think it'll help. Because I'll have a destination.
Instead of just being
everything. Like, I'm going to work out every day for the next year. Like, being like, I'm going to work really hard for the 75 days.
Because what happens is, like, you realize, like it just becomes, that's enough time to switch into a lifestyle.
Brains are weird.
Where it's, like, it's crazy how malleable they are. I'm scared that, it's not forever. From, you know, what I'm looking at is, like, you're still able to change and adjust yourself, obviously. But what happens is like you switch into a lifestyle where it's like, yo, my day is not complete until I move, right? Like, or I feel like I really start to yearn for the positive move, the thing that pulls me forward towards a better ideal of whatever. So, I mean, I highly, highly recommend it because it is life changing. Yeah.
What was your favorite part about it? See, not me asking questions on your podcast.
Nah, your podcast. The Face of Nations podcast. Claro.
Welcome to Tiffany Talks.
I love it. I mean, I think the biggest thing was like up here. Like all of a sudden now it's like tasks with work, tasks with everything else, because I was so disciplined and regimented for the last, for 75 days, right? Kind of like that it instantly was like, you now know that the tension, you can recognize the tension of like not wanting to do something or doing something and it being mad uncomfortable is okay. Yeah. But you recognize that there's this tension and like now you have the muscle memory to be like, nope, I need to get my butt up and I need to get it. Right. So like when I was pulling, a kettlebell in the driveway over here, like at midnight, because I needed to finish my workout and like I needed to get my second workout in. It's like, now I know that the things that are stopping me from getting to where I want to be are like the little the little actual things to do. Like now it's significantly easier. So it was nice being able to become aware of how important discipline is.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and actually doing things. But I think it was my favorite part. It was like up here.
Yeah.
The other stuff is kind of, go ahead.
Well, I was saying like what put you in that place, like you were like, I need to do this.
So I saw somebody who was on like day 74, 75, and then he wrote like a caption about like how great of a journey it was. And then I prayed about it and was like, I need to do this today or tomorrow. I need to start like I needed to start tomorrow, but I ignored it. I was disobedient. I was like, give me like 2 days. I need 2 days to like plan it and get into it and whatnot.
Not the disobedience. Really
straight up disobedience. But yeah, no, I gave it an extra day. I waited like 2 days after seeing that and was like, okay, now let it sit. Let me, stop running and stuff. So dove into it and was like, it was a really good decision.
Love that
really
for you.
Good decision. So
love that for you.
But yeah, so now it's really nice because it's just your lifestyle changes a little bit, and exercising and eating well and changes your whole thing.
I am
ASAP.
starting on the 1st.
Yeah.
I almost I wanted to start on like a weird day because I'm just like, I feel like starting on the 1st always stresses me out. Like it's like saying like I'm gonna do it Monday. Like no, just do it on Thursday. It's okay. Just start on a Thursday. But I think I love it. It's like a little.
Yeah, they have an app for it too, which is really cool.
Okay.
So you can like check off stuff, and then
I'll
share all the systems for you.
About to flex on it. It's like that TikTok that's like, I'm working out for my mental health and just to get healthy, and it's like, no, I'm trying to flex. Trying to flex on everybody. That's all I'm gonna do.
Exactly.
Back then you didn't want me, now much you all on me. Like, big on that energy. Big. I've been wanting to sing that song and mean it for a very long time.
I'm crying. Big.
I was like,
summer's coming up. Hey.
I was like 11 in the back of my dad's car, in the back of his Mercedes, just hearing that song. I was like, yo, I feel that. I feel it.
I want to say it loud. And mean it.
Yeah.
Full confidence. I love that, man.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm weak. So what's next? What's next for you?
Heading back to Washington. About to put out some like projects for other artists, so I get to start hiring artists instead of like being the artist that gets hired, which really makes me appreciate the process and feel sorry for everyone that I left on red when they asked me to send things in time.
Right.
But am I going to change? No.
You can't. It would be inauthentic.
Yeah. If you're going to work with artists, like you really just need to have something that's going to keep your peace for the rest of it. Yeah, we suck. 100%. It's okay though.
It's trash.
It's all right. Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay.
Pandemic. You really think I'm going to text back in a bit?
Never. And then this new update, like send silently.
Yeah. No. Like
I ain't give back.
Don't ever press a notification that says send anyway.
Right.
Don't ever
that
do it.
Is
Don't ever do it. That is disrespecting my boundaries.
So crazy.
I don't care if I just have it on just to have it on.
Right.
I don't care if you have my location.
Right.
Do not send anyway. Like the audacity. What is the emergency?
It's rude.
Especially if it's just a hey with no punk. Like
right.
A hey with no punctuation.
Send anyway.
Like get out of my. Ugh. Anyways.
That's another conversation.
Yeah. What's next is going back home, taking what I've learned, what I'm doing, and just like really like doing the 75 hard. I'm off of fast, so I'm excited to start eating and like being able to cook. Yeah. I was cooking a little bit for my parents on the fast, so I'm excited to eat good food again. I think I'm getting my love of cooking back.
Hey.
Yeah.
Love to see that.
I'm gonna spread my Nana's ashes, and then kind of after that, I think I'm gonna be in the deepest session of my therapy, which I'm really excited for, and I'm gonna start trying to work on projects.
Hey.
Maybe some collabs.
Hey.
Possibly.
We'll get there.
Some collabs eventually.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
I don't know who. I don't know where, how.
Possibly.
But, collabs with people. Yeah. And then
shirts, t-shirts.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
So yeah, I think that's gonna be the main thing. I'm just kind of like gonna be taking it easy, but also just starting to pour into me again and like build up my body. Yeah. I want like to work on just like the practical things just about me before even like doing art again. But there are some pieces that are coming up, so other than that, hopefully I can find like an assistant or someone to help me with emails and just kind of like the logistics, because being a freelance artist is hard.
You have to do everything.
You have to do everything. I need someone to help. So if you guys are looking for an artist to adopt, I am here. And
I love it.
Shameless plug.
Shameless.
Come work for me.
Please.
Help me.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, never doubt God. Never say never.
Look,
Hey.
I'm just saying, everything attached to me wins, so.
Hey. Love it.
Come on.
Let's go. It's a good place to be.
Join the team.
Well, heck yeah. Well, do you have, as we close out, any last words, any parting words of inspiration or anything? If you got you got a panel right here.
Yeah.
What's the statement for the people? I love that. Perfect.
I just felt that.
I'll listen it back and just try to
O-H,
I'll ask Siri.
S-H-H,
PH somewhere.
Yeah.
Love it.
You can't put me on the spot.
Got to.
Okay.
Yeah. Just anything. What comes to heart? What comes to heart?
I would say just I don't know. What my grandpa told me before he passed has been kind of in my head. Hold on to God's unchanging hand. And I think that's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Is recognizing that he's the most consistent thing. And if we're supposed to be a reflection of him, how can we also be consistent? How can we also be, yeah. I don't know. And holding on to it is just also relying and not trying to control. So I think I'm trying to stop being in control of things. Maybe that is it.
Yeah.
It's just trying to manipulate something that's unchanging. And
it's
trying
ego.
trying to get ahead of it. Trying to be one foot a step ahead when you don't even need to be. I don't know. I don't really. There's a lot of things that's in my mind right now, but I think that's one of the main things that keeps on coming up. I hear it strong, so if it's in my head, I'm just gonna put it out there. But yeah,
of course,
keep on holding on to God's unchanging hand.
Man, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So, how can the people get a hold of you? How can they reach out or follow, tap in?
See, I be wanting to say jokes, but then I have to remind that I just talked about God for the last few minutes. I'm just kidding.
That's the everlasting Christian struggle right there.
I was
right
because people can't take jokes,
right?
Because
they can't. They can't.
Didn't they get on Chandler for twerking with his wife at his wedding?
What? That's so crazy.
I'm
leave him alone.
Don't come to my reception.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all ain't gonna be you gonna be mad.
Yeah. You're gonna have to go.
I'm gonna put a trigger warning before that.
Heathen behavior is about to take place.
Yeah, facts.
No, but
comedy.
I would say you can find me on Insta. Mm-hmm. Eventually I'll post stuff, so if you want to be more involved in the artist, then it would be T.Fanny, Ffanny, and then Face of Nations is where I'm gonna be posting more of my just Face of Nations work. I think that's pretty much it. Cool.
Alrighty, guys, it's another episode of the Element Podcast. We thank you for me. Of course, it was a blast. I'm glad I had to grab you before you dipped, so I'm glad you're able to make it. So please, do the whole 9, the subscribe, follow, tap in if you enjoy the stuff. Yes. Make sure you follow us at the Element Podcast on Instagram. Also, Ski Snaps is my personal IG. So shoot your shot. Follow at me. Peace out, y'all. Bye. That's not how I wanted to end it. That was so good. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that was fun. Amazing. So good. So good.